Okay. But yeah, man, what was that jump like though?
So it was almost $50,000 more than I was previously making. So I was
Nice.
again in my mind like I couldn't like 2 years ago ever imagine like turning that down, but as I got more experience, I started to like know what my real worth was, and so I took the leap of faith. I declined them.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Techtual Talk. Well, I'm your host, HD, and this is episode 43. And we got a banger for you today. That's another Friday I'm recording. Shout out to everybody that's been listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, Stitcher, you name it. If you like the podcast, please favorite it, share it out, leave a review. It really helps me out for my algorithms and for my downloads. And if you're on YouTube, thank everybody for subscribing to me. Please continue to hit that like button. And if you like the content, hit that bell icon and select all for notification preference. But yeah, man, we got a good treat in here for y'all today. None other than Mr. Kenneth Ellington. He is a senior cybersecurity consultant. He specializes in SIM and SOAR technology. So, yeah, man, we're gonna have a good talk today, man. So, hope y'all appreciate this one. So, let's get it. All right, what's going on, man?
Hey Henry, how you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. First and foremost, appreciate you for stopping by the podcast. But I kind of told everybody pretty much you are a senior cybersecurity consultant, and you specialize in SIM and SOAR technology. Real briefly, we're gonna have an icebreaker. What's your favorite SIM to work with?
I like Splunk ES the most. I'm personally not a big IBM fan or anything that they do really for technology. The
Me
reason I
either.
like Splunk ES is the GUI is pretty easy to use and it's pretty easy to understand, and documentation is pretty spot on.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. So what we're gonna do is actually just reverse engineer like all these things. So we'll start off with saying like I think I read in your bio that you've been in tech for like 3 years. Was like Is it like this the only career you had like the last 3 years, or did you do something previously?
So in college, I worked as a deli clerk. If you ever like been in the South, it's just like a supermarket called Publix Supermarkets. I worked there for 4.5 years, like all throughout college. So I sliced meat, I fried chicken, I made sandwiches.
Okay,
And so like from that, and I moved to cybersecurity.
got you. And so, because I've never been to that grocery store. Um, where are you from?
I'm originally from Tampa, Florida.
Okay, got you. I figured it's either Florida or Georgia because I heard of like those being over there. I'm from Louisiana, so we don't have those from where I'm from.
Gotcha.
I heard they got some good food though. Like,
It's amazing. I miss it. I'm not gonna lie. There's no stores like around here that are good at Publix. Whole Foods is like too expensive, but it's nice. And Kroger is like Kroger. Same for Walmart.
I don't know, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, Whole Foods got like some good like smoked wings, and Kroger's has some like good wings too. Like when I go in there and get them, like the ones cooked from the deli and stuff. So I don't know, but I've never tasted the other stuff, so it's not like I can compare. I will say, it's decent. I ain't gonna say it's the best, but you just gotta run and go get it. But yeah, man. So you pretty much didn't say anything was off limits. So the current company that you're at now, have is that like you've been like your whole career?
No, I've been with them for about 6 months. So
Okay.
previously I worked at a fintech company called DTCC. I worked there for about what, like a year, a little over a year and a half. Then this opportunity came up, and I decided to make the jump to consulting.
Okay. What I was gonna say is because I have, funny enough, my one of my old coworkers. Me and him worked at Optum together. He's going to DTCC. Uh,
Oh, very nice.
sorry for moving. I'm trying to make sure nothing's going on. All these Slack things that just blew up my phone. Okay, it's nothing important. but Cool. Let's actually talk about because and granted, I don't know your age, right? But I know for me, coming out of school, it's just a different time. So, but for you to come out right out of school and like start working with Sims and stuff like that, like how were you able to do that? Like, what did you do anything in college? Did you do any internships, any rotational programs? Like, kind of let's start with there. Like, what were you in college for, and then we'll go on to like kind of what set you up to do what you do.
So originally, I graduated with a degree in MIS in cybersecurity from University of South Florida, USF, in Tampa. For majority of college, I worked as a deli clerk. So I did that, and then I switched my major to IT my junior year of college. And so during that first semester, I was still trying to figure everything out for what I'm to do specifically in IT. And my store manager at the time knew I was transitioning towards IT. She's like, "Hey, Kenneth, the head of security for all Publix is coming towards your store in like a couple weeks. Do you want to have a meeting with them?" I'm like, "Yes, please." Um, so I sat down with him. His name was Rick Rampola.
Wait. Let's bring that back.
Hey, listen.
Repeat that again. I'm trying to make sure I heard that correctly.
So I switched my major to IT my junior year, and my store manager at the time knew that. 'Cause I told her, um, and because I told her, she's like, "Hey, Kenneth, the head of global security for public supermarkets is going to come towards our store to do a walkthrough. You want to have a meeting with them?" I said, "Yes, of course. That'd be an amazing opportunity." And he sat down with me. We talked. He told me like step by step instructions he wanted from me because he had an internship team, but it was that summer that I met him, so internships were already starting. So he told me, "Hey Kenneth, you can do all these things that I give you. I can guarantee you a spot on my internship team next summer." Fast forward 9 months, I do everything that he asked of me. I interview with his team, and I get the job. So that's how I kind of broke into cybersecurity.
Nice, man. I just want to. I told you to run that back because that's like that's very like interesting that you had that you were with a company that cared about you that much that set that facilitated that meeting for you. Like I used to talk about what I want to do at Target, and nothing good like that happened for me. And ironically, is like the times I was working at Target was like when I finished school was around the same time they got hit with that
Oh,
huge
really?
breach with the HVAC systems and all that kind of stuff. So it's like funny to me when I think about it. Uh, that's dope, man. So how long did you do that internship?
The internship was for 4 months, and honestly, Henry, like it was one of the best times of my entire life. Like I loved every day of it. That's when I truly understood what it meant to like love your job. Like every day I decided to go to work, which felt really weird to me at the time. I got like paid lunches. I got to meet with like all the executives, so all the C-suite people. I got to tour all the offices, all the meat plants, the vegetable plants. They gave us a tour of like the water and dairy facility, so I got to taste like fresh ice cream straight off the line, which is like amazing. Like it's so delicious. But like all was just awesome. I literally didn't have any complaints. It was funny. So like on the last 2 days when I was saying goodbye towards my team, I actually almost cried because I really did not want to leave. Like it was an amazing opportunity. So that was just like awesome to me. I've always had like a soft spot for Publix because they gave me a chance to like develop myself so I could become like the well-rounded human being that I am today. So I've always like say I bleed green basically. You know, it sounds kind of corny, but it's just true.
Nah, man, that's fire, man. Like for real. Let me see if I got some applause for that. Like for that impact on you, those 4 months, like, and to really kind of get that, enjoy it, all those perks, and like kind of, I think it's just a feel good, story, like a good start, like because everybody has different paths, and for you, just every day, and just I'm at work, but you're in position. I always tell people like being in position because you could have, been to yourself, reserved, and not talk to nobody, not told anybody at all what you plan to do, what your career aspirations were. So hats off to them for that internship. That's one of the things I preach for college people. It's like try to get internships as soon as possible. Like I have a baby brother that's about to start school, so if he listens, I'm going to attempt to help him get in an internship. The key word is if he listens. If he doesn't, he's going to have to, find his own lane like I did. But I definitely feel you on that part about saying like, you didn't want to leave. I don't know about wanting to cry, but that's how I feel about like my last company, Optiv. I don't really feel like that about McAfee because they gave me a chance, but they laid me off. But
Oh, dang.
Optiv really gave me like in a 3 year span a really like a way to kind of ladder. It's like because of Optiv, a lot of the stuff that's coming out in this course I'm working on, I'll just say it like that until I can finally announce it. It's a lot of stuff, that I learned from there that I took with me, that I put in there, and I take with me to take to every job, whether the next job works out good or not. But cool. So fintech. So with the internship, how many different offers or interviews did you end up doing before you found like the first role that you wanted to land, man?
So I interviewed with a couple other companies during that time in college. That was my junior year going to my senior year. But honestly, I wanted to work at Publix, so that wasn't my main goal. So I studied for months straight to make sure I aced that interview. Um, that was
Well,
really like,
I'm referring to like after you left the internship, once you were
oh,
like too old to do it. So yeah, like when you said you had to leave, like to get to that first role at the DTCC, like how did that come about? Far as like, was that the only interview you did, or did you do like 5, 10 interviews, different offers, like
oh, okay, got you.
and we'll touch on like how was that, being a new grad, how was negotiations and job searching, like how did you handle that, being a new grad?
Okay. So after the internship ended, I wanted to like extend it, but they said they could only do like full time, and I was still in college. So I couldn't do that. But I basically had like an offer after I graduated, but that was 9 months out, so I just kept my options open. So I interviewed with a bunch of different companies. I wasn't picky 'cause I wanted to get my foot in the door, so I would literally move anywhere in the country. I was fine with that. So it's funny. DTCC. I had no idea who they were until like they called me back up. I'm like, who the hell are these people? So I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea who they were. So they were like third on my list because I didn't really want to be a software engineer. That's what I applied for. Because my first choice was security engineer, security analyst, or software engineer. So I interviewed with a bunch of different companies, but they didn't really call me back. And then this was January of 2020. Yeah, January 2020. I interviewed with them, and literally like the end of that day, like 3 hours later, they called me back. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, either I did really well or I did really crappy, and everybody yelled at me. Um, so they called me till I got the offer. Honestly, I wasn't even that happy. I was like, oh, thank you. Then they told me how much I'd be making. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, wait, excuse me?
What?
I'm like, are you being, are you being serious? They're like, yeah. I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I can actually do this then.
Hey,
Um,
I mean, if you don't mind sharing that, because it's one of the things I tend to like sometimes miss when I'm doing these interviews because I just be into like getting to know the person and everything else. But like, you know, if you mind, like, you don't necessarily guys be specific with the number, but
I can tell you the number.
okay.
Um,
I mean, well, not tell me. Let's tell them.
so my starting salary was 70,000, and the sign-on bonus was 5,000. And this was
Nice.
pre COVID, pre real estate jumping 2,000%. Right. Um,
Okay.
so so like
All
living
right.
in Tampa was cheap before COVID. So like a one bedroom apartment was like $1,000. If those say income tax, food's pretty cheap here, cheap there.
Right.
So that was like really good money.
No,
Um,
no, no. No, that's listen. I finished school, went back to Target, $7.75 an hour, first job, $17 an hour. Then they went to like 19 and some change to make 40K. That's excellent money. Just, and so if my math serves me correctly, you are under 25.
I'm 25 exactly.
Okay. So I'm close enough to it. But no, that's good for like, when you started off. Number two is just like, because, young people are caught up in what's on like, really it's not as bad on LinkedIn, but you go on Twitter, they're caught up on like all these different salaries on what people want, want. Some of these people haven't even put any work in and try to even get the salaries they're trying to get. They think college is the work, which is really not. It's easy. We both know if you know the right people, you can go through college and probably get straight A's and never learn a thing. If we want to be quite honest, like I know people who just have some of the teachers keep the same test for 10 plus years.
That
If
is
you get them tests, you could BS, turn in some assignments, and do good on all the tests. So the fact that's good. No family, no nothing. That's a good starting point because of people. I have clients, so there are a lot of times say, "No, is that good? Is this good?" I was like, "Yes, it's good." You're just starting off. I'm like, I mean, granted, if you're not just starting off, you got like 5 years experience elsewhere. You can still negotiate a little more because you have other expertise. They expect you to negotiate. I know I didn't really start negotiating until like a couple of years ago. Just because a lot of times it was so much more than I was already making. I didn't care. But I mean, it's serious, man. I just like to be transparent on them. But that's dope, man. And so that role with DTCC was a sim engineer.
I was an application developer. So for
Okay.
them, I built Java business applications. Um, I did that for about a year, and it's a funny story.
Go ahead.
So,
We got time.
so I just moved to Dallas. So my first 7 months with them, I lived in Tampa because of COVID. Um, so they pushed out the start date, right, to actually going back towards the office. So I moved last March to Dallas, and at the time I didn't have any furniture at all. Literally, it was just like my gaming chair and had some boxes at my table. It was actually kind of depressing. So I did
Are you
that.
in Dallas, or are you in
Uh,
outskirts of Dallas?
Las Colinas.
Okay, so Irving. Okay, cool. We have to. I mean, outside of this, we might have to catch up out there. I haven't been to Las Colinas in a while, but they got some stuff over there. But yeah,
Yes.
you can keep on.
So yeah. So this was I didn't have any furniture. So I was sitting at the corner of my room by myself, and I had the Java Oracle book. It was like 9 p.m. at night. I'm reading it. I put it down. I'm like, "Yep, I don't want to do this anymore." So, so I that summer I asked my management team, "Can I get moved back towards cybersecurity?" Because they've always known that I want to do cybersecurity. Um,
hmm
they said yes. Um, so last July, um, yeah, last July I moved back towards sim engineering, and I did that for 6 months, and then my current employer, um, I felt they would give me a better chance to grow myself, and they gave me a serious pay raise, which my previous employer wouldn't want to do, and so I decided to leave.
Nice. Now, and we'll get into that in a second. Tell me a little bit about that. And maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse. But we'll go right here. I'm gonna make a clip. Let's clip it now. If somebody wanted to be like a sim engineer right now, and we're gonna say right now, if they wanted to be a sim engineer specifically for Splunk, because I don't really see. I mean, granted, you can niche down and try to learn Qradar, but I feel like Qradar is gonna go the same way that ArcSight went, which is in the dust pretty soon. You don't find nobody talking about, do you know how to use ArcSight? I worked with a company that we used ArcSight briefly, and it was slow as a dinosaur. Like, it was horrible. And QRadar is bad at dropping logs. That's the reason why I don't like QRadar.
That's a long.
Hey man, listen, we got time because I don't like, I want these to be like entertaining, but also I really want to put people on game because me and you are not paid by like Splunk or Qradar, so we can just be as honest as possible about the product. But if somebody want to say, "Hey, I want to come out of school and I want to go be a SIM engineer, but I want to work with Splunk," like, how do they do that?
So the biggest thing is you need to understand like some portions of cybersecurity basics, so basic networking, probably some basic compliance standards, SOC fundamentals, and if you understand that, and then you can start to transition towards the SIM portion. So log management, and then like data aggregation. So the two big things which I try to stress towards people is understanding what you're supposed to be ingesting. So understand those logs. So if it's cloud logs like AWS CloudTrail, or I think Azure Blue Coat Proxy, those are two common ones. If it's network logs, understand that. So that's where the fundamentals to understand what networks are is important, like ports, IP addresses, source IP, destination IP, things of that nature. You need to understand those fundamentals because I can teach you how to use Splunk, but if you don't understand the data sets you're looking at, it's not going to be that helpful for you. So understanding like those fundamental basics is super important, and then I can teach you like the actual like nitty gritty of how to use Splunk and how it works and ins and outs of it. Because actually, I actually officially launch my business either tonight or tomorrow when I officially file for my LLC. I'm going to be training people how to use SIM fundamentals and SIM and SOAR. Because I've been getting a lot of people that have been asking me to do that, so I actually want to scale it up now. And so that's what I'm trying to stress towards people in the program that I'm going to be building. You're going to learn all those fundamentals, then I'll teach you actually how to use Splunk. And one of the key things that people understand is Splunk overall is a data aggregation, log management, data analysis platform. Splunk in itself is not a SIM. It has a SIM portion called
Right.
Splunk Enterprise
Splunk
Security.
ES.
Yes, that's like a small portion of it. Even though majority of Splunk use cases are security use cases, I think it's like 65%. Still in itself, I want to make that a disclaimer so people can understand that. For example, like Qradar is a SIM. It's not a log management platform.
Right.
You try to use a log management platform, it's gonna catch on fire. Trust me.
Right.
Don't do it.
Matter of fact, don't use Qradar at all.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like it at all. It's slow. I don't like the UI.
I had to click too much. You gotta. I'd rather type in what I need or type it in one time and save it and just change some crap, and instead of the way you have to do it in Qradar. It's just.
It was the same thing with like Resilient and try to integrate some of that data. Like the API keys weren't working, and then trying to get support from IBM. It's taking like 3 months. So I wasn't very happy with the service that we got.
You've never seen anything more trash, and you could probably type in McAfee Nitro Sim, garbage, and that is the worst piece of crap I've ever worked with. I promise to God, like trash.
Oh, as for McAfee did had a sim. That is right.
This player by accident because my finger missed it. It's gonna keep on playing the whole way through. But welcome to TikTok, y'all. But anyway, sorry about that to the viewers. But yeah, that's dope. I'm glad you did make that disclaimer about Splunk and then Splunk ES, because a lot of times most of the security people are saying Splunk, but we're really referring to Splunk ES.
Yes.
A lot of people don't know, but that's good because I normally recommend people, hey, Splunk Fundamentals 1 is free. And I was like, if your company uses Splunk, they may be a partner. You can get Fundamentals 2 for free, and all these other little classes they got for free. They at least give you some PDFs so you can have on file, and you could at least know exactly like the search terms, Splunk, and they kind of just know how to just move around it when it comes to Splunk searching.
Well, they actually changed that, Henry. So there is no more fundamentals.
Oh yeah, it's like lumped together now, right?
Yeah, well, they did, so it's not free anymore. So what they did is they took literally every single concept in Splunk Fundamental 1 and 2. They broke it up into I think it's like 10 or 12 courses. Now they're $500 each. So now instead of being like, I think like $2,000 for Splunk one, for Splunk fundamentals one and Splunk fundamentals two, I think
It's 5,000.
it's like that's over, it's over 5,000. It's like 8,000.
Man, I need the little Vegeta little sound. They're tripping because that's some basic stuff. That's not 5,000. I mean, I get it, but it's not $5,000 worthy. No way possible. Because you can just BS that stuff, but it's not like a course unless you're doing instructor led where you kind of learn a little bit more. Um, you know, but and the other thing I always encourage people to do is like, if you want to take the time, you can either go the route of going like a try hack me or something like that, or you could download Splunk. They'll give you like 60 days of like Splunk Cloud or whatever, install it, and then you could put like their data set on there, like boss of the sock data set, throw that on there, kind of learn how to maneuver around that. Now you didn't turn into a SOC analyst in a little bit. I mean, you're not working out of a freaking the Splunk ES homepage where you got the correlation searches where you got to assign them to yourself. So you're looking at the rules, but you are looking for indicators of compromise based on that data set and the questions that they ask you. So, but yeah, man, you want to touch on like you did say you had a long story, but something funny. Let's talk about something funny that happened. Did you use Qradar at the old job, or you only using it at the new job?
I use Qradar at my previous employer.
Okay, you want to tell us something funny about Qradar?
So this was it was funny because we're supposed to have like a dev and production environment, even though I put stuff in production, which was like half our issues. So one of the big things was trying to get people to understand that Qradar is not a log management platform, and it's not a data lake. We have Snowflake for that. So everyone kept trying to send their logs. And like, why is it so slow? I don't understand. And I try to explain to them, Qradar is a SIM. It's not a log management platform. But we need to have these logs inside of Qradar.
Mm-hmm.
On it. And I tried to make them understand. I'm like, I didn't write the documentation for this. When the documentation was written, I was like in kindergarten. So I don't know you're trying to yell at me. I'm just telling you what our compliance team have told me, and that you can't have these type of logs in this environment because it's making our job harder. But they didn't want to listen towards that. Because everyone wants to keep their logs, everyone wants to ingest terabytes of data a day, even though it can't handle that.
At
And so
all.
it was like a back and forth with them. And then trying to get like IBM to help us out, which like is a whole another mess in of itself. It took like months to try to get some of that stuff up, and then they were saying that we didn't pay enough to get the premium service or whatever, even though we're paying millions of dollars a year. I'm like, so how much more do you want from us? So that was one of the big issues that we kept running into.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's give them a nugget because see, I didn't do anything on the engineering side. So I heard you say Snowflake, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
So if somebody wanted to optimize QRadar to have, the most logs and stuff like that, like what should they do? How should they, I guess, what's the minimum amount of logs that possibly should be probably ingested a day that'll make it be as fast as it can be without bogging the system down? What do you
So
think?
So from like a holistic perspective, you got to take a step back and you got to know what's important towards your organization. What do you have to log? Because there may
Mm-hmm.
be like compliance standards for your industry that you have to log these certain logs no matter what. That's just the law, right?
Right.
So you have to look from that holistic perspective. Then you have to look at how much money are you willing to spend on licensing and ingestion, right? If you're Apple and you're like a $1 trillion company, you don't really care. You can have a limited license. You can ingest as much as you want. You don't really care, right? You can just spread
Right.
out. I think they call data processors in Qradar. They spread out across the data process like 400. You don't really care because money's not important to you, right? So from that perspective, you need to look at those two things. And then you need to speak with all your stakeholders and understand what logs are they trying to ingest. Then look back at your documentation to understanding. If you have documentation, which you should, but they don't always. And you look at, okay, what is actually important? What do we as corporation X state that security logs, right? What are security logs? What are just general operational logs that we don't necessarily want to monitor in this tool? What can we send towards Databricks or Snowflake compared to actually Qradar or Splunk ES or Humio or whatever it is, right? So you need to take it from that step-by-step approach to try to break it down. Um, so that's kind of how I normally look at it.
Okay, appreciate that answer. And so we are moving along. And I had the question in my mind. I'm gonna get it back real quick. Okay, so you did that job for like 6 more months, and were you on LinkedIn and you got approached by a recruiter for this position, this new position, this current position, or no? How did that happen?
So I asked them, could I get a raise? Because granted, technically I got promoted, so I was doing the work of a senior engineer, right? But I was only getting paid the rate of like a junior analyst. And the reason I was initially the reason I was initially okay with it, cause I wanted to get out of like software engineering, so I'm like, that's fine. I'm also doing security.
Right.
And then like the workload started to hit. I'm learning a lot. I'm doing a lot of cool stuff. But it's like,
I'm
so
not
this
getting
is like,
paid what I need to.
yeah, this is like this time around like resignation. So like everyone's leaving, so the salaries are starting to decrease like exponentially. I'm starting to see this. I'm like, hey, I have their skill set, but I'm not getting paid what they're getting paid, or anywhere close to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my management. My manager wanted to give me the money, but it wasn't up to them because of the early career program I was in. My
Mm-hmm.
raises were set and scheduled compared to everyone else's. So even though I was at the top of my class, right, I was getting paid compared to everyone else, which I didn't think was fair. So
Right.
that's up to HR. It wasn't up to my management team. So I asked HR, and they said, you can get a raise when you get a raise, basically. And I'm like,
Hey, and I'm gonna interject right there because that reminds me of like my latest video I did about why I left my current company, and that's one of the things they told me as well. It was kind of like I was like, oh yeah, hey, how often do y'all do salary adjustments? Like when you just go back and see if you're paying everybody what they need to be paid. He was like, oh yeah, they look at it about once a year. I was like, okay. I took that as a big N and a little O. That's what I took it as. But you can keep it going, but that just remind me of it. It's like the reason why companies are losing people just because of simple stuff.
yeah, it was no. When she said that, I was like, okay. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm not gonna stay here. Um, so so that's when I started to like serious. Cause people were like recruiters were approaching me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I wasn't like too seriously looking. But when I got told that, I'm like, all right. I'm not gonna stay at this firm anymore. That's when I
Yeah.
started to like seriously look, like tell my network, people that I trust, hey, I'm interested in a job. Keep talk to people for me, and then I after that I had like 4 interviews lined up within like a week. It was really quick. Um,
Nice. Yeah, because you have an in demand skill because everybody
yeah.
doesn't know how to do it.
So I I interviewed with a consulting company, another one before I joined EY. Um,
Which we need
and
that name. We need that name. Which one was it?
Infosys,
Infosys. I've heard of them.
Infosys security, and interview went like super well. Um, it was literally so I knew one of the partners at that firm, and he really wanted to hire me. So like that process, I think it was like 3 days basically. It was insanely quick. And they told me they gave me a job. They gave me the offer like right in the spot. Um, and they told me how much we making, and I was like, oh holy crap, like that's insane. But but I want to work at EY because I felt that would be the best opportunity for me to grow. And so like it's crazy because like 2 years ago when I was frying chicken and scrubbing grease off the floor, if someone told me that and I would turn that offer down, I told them that they're high. Like I never would have turned that down. But then I fast forward like 2.5 years later, and I'm like,
Come
excuse
on
me,
now. Come
uh,
on, man.
But here's I do want to ask you a little bit about, and I was gonna wait till you brought up like EY because I know I interviewed with them in 2020, and it's funny because I see that same role that they were trying to interview me for constantly on LinkedIn all the time, and that lets me know that they really didn't know what they were doing when they were trying to hire for that role. Um, I mean, for the most part, I like the building. Like, do you have to go to downtown Dallas?
Sometimes it is super nice. The office is very nice.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I think, matter of fact, I think I like their building more than I like Goldman Sachs. Because I think you guys also had the luxury of like, do you have to pay for parking or is it like they cover it?
But we get reimbursed.
Okay, see, well, see, they still pay for it, they reimburse you. See, Goldman Sachs wouldn't reimburse it. It's one of the reasons too why I was just like, nah, I'm not finna drive this far and pay for my own parking. I don't know who y'all think y'all are. For real, man. uh, but so okay, now let's talk numbers again. Let's um, what was that jump from like? Well, when you were at DTCC, did you get another raise while you was there, or they kept you at the same rate they hired you on for?
So here's the funny part. I did get a raise, but I got a raise before I moved over to back to security.
Mm-hmm.
But the raise, I calculated it, and I think it was like 1%. I was, I was I felt so disrespected. I'm like, you can take that. I don't want that. It was
Yeah,
literally. I did the math. I think it's like 1.5%. It was like
they
the
got at
same.
least do. When I was at Optiv, it was like at least 5% every year, just about. Just because they were trying to do cost of living adjustments for like inflation and stuff like that. So if they're not willing to do at least 5%, like then that's crazy. And maybe it was because you was in that little program that they said you were in.
Yeah, it was because of that.
They didn't think that was stupid that they lost a talent like you over something that could have been fixed.
I mean, they've been losing a lot of people lately. I mean, most companies have because it's a nature of the market in our field. But
Yeah.
it's been pretty interesting to see.
Okay. But yeah, man, what was that? What was that jump like though?
So it was almost $50,000 more than I was previously making. So I was
Nice.
again in my mind like I couldn't like 2 years ago ever imagine like turning that down. But as I got more experience, I started to like know what my real worth was, and so I took the leap of faith. I declined them, and I interviewed at my current employer, and I got the job. And so I
Did
was
they
very
match the offer?
say again.
They matched the offer, right?
Yeah, they gave me a little bit more.
Yeah. As I thought they would. Um, that's dope, man. That's dope. Especially like, and here's the thing. Now, I mean, you really got two big names like on your resume for the most part right now. Especially with the current company. I know that's kind of what I did with this last one. Like I said, leaving Goldman and literally next Monday I started at JP Morgan. Um, but now, do you do okay? So now I can get into like fun questions. So you do the same thing you pretty much was doing at the last spot. Do you only do the engineering part, or do you help with? Well, actually, we didn't bring in a second part. Did you learn how to do SOAR? And for those who don't know what SOAR is, I'm gonna make sure I don't butcher this. I believe it's security, orchestration, automation, response, right?
Yes.
That's what SOAR stands for. And that's because mostly, especially, and I didn't research why SOAR was invented, but I could see why because I was in a SOC for years. It's like to help you out because alert fatigue is real and just some of the things you have to always go do all the time gets tedious. So somebody would be surprised. Even something simple as, hey, timeless alert fires. We used to use Phantom, and then right before I left, we moved to Palo Alto XOR. You got already stuff, all the hashes from like Virus Total and all these other things, and they've already sandboxed it, and now you kind of comparing it to what you see in the sim and stuff like that. It's kind of just to help you out. Even if it's like 15 seconds, like fast on your time, it's going to help you out in your overall analysis. As well as you can automate other things, like when it comes into like working with ServiceNow, pushing all that stuff from your container into ServiceNow ticket with their serve module or whatever ticketing system your company uses. But were you already learn how to do that stuff when you're at DTCC?
I did. So when I got moved back towards security, I that was my first experience with SOAR. So it
Mine
was pretty
too.
interesting to see. So I think they used, I think IBM Resilient. So that was the SOAR platform they used.
Okay.
I mostly did
That's why you
backend.
didn't like it. Because you got a bias for IBM.
I've been doing it for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess a lot of our current clients, because I work with such a large consulting firm, our clients use
Mm-hmm.
like every single different technology. So Splunk Phantom, XOR are a couple of the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
I do prefer those over Resilient.
I think I like EXO more than Phantom.
Yeah, I don't have that much experience with Phantom. I have more with XOR. I'm trying to get more practice with that, and I do like the user interface a lot. It's very clean and simple.
Yeah, I think it's because I think Phantom overcomplicates it just a little bit, just a little bit to me, honestly. I never got a chance to use Swim Lane, and I also know ServiceNow actually has their own SOAR functionality built within ServiceNow as well.
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
Hmm. And then some places like one of the places I worked at, they were to me it was dumb. You could do it like this, but it didn't make sense. They were using ServiceNow kind of like their SIM in a sense. Like they were sending all their correlation searches and everything to ServiceNow, which it would make fire off at the rule because they had all these different. It was they were MSS, so they had all these different clients, and then you working out of there, but it would be slow sometimes, bogging down. I'm just like, I don't just forward all these to like Splunk or you forward them to Phantom, whatever. So it's just right there and it's just simpler than bogging service now down with stuff. Is either one or two things y'all not doing the maintenance y'all need to, or it can't keep up. And I think they switched to Phantom like after I left. But I was just like, this is a mess. It don't need to be like this. I don't know. You'll see as you keep, and you probably already noticed this. This is like some of these companies that people revere, and we get a chance to peek on the inside of them and work with them. We're like, y'all are hanging out, hanging on by a thread. Like this doesn't make sense. Y'all bringing people in here that really don't know what they're doing. Yet you making it hard for somebody who actually been studying to know what to do. Hard for me to get the job. Like it's crazy.
Yeah, I do see that a lot. I think it's one of the big issues because they're not willing to train people even if they get there, and then they don't do well, and then they're like, oh, I don't understand why didn't little Johnny do well? I don't do well.
Little Johnny. Little Johnny didn't do well because y'all didn't train him and y'all didn't have documentation. That's why he didn't do well. And then
Documentation, I can keep doing it over and over again. I don't understand that. That's a waste of time.
no. What's documentation? I don't know what that is. Let's jump on a Zoom call and you can watch me do it before lunch. But back to what I was going to ask you though. Do you do any correlation searches or anything like that? Like, do you do anything with content, or you only strictly do the back end engineering portion for like the systems?
It depends on what our client needs. I haven't. It's been a decent while since I've done like content development. I did it when I was at Publix for our internship. I did a lot of
Okay.
threat research. But mostly when I was at DTCC, I did engineering work, engineering admin work. Same with the SOAR platform, so doing integrations, getting data in, or trying to, if it wasn't stopped by IBM. But that's what I normally try to do, and then building out use cases as well, and arguing with our other stakeholders about why they shouldn't ingest this.
Man, I used to like that part of the SOC parts, like especially like I don't like being. Well, I would never be on glass again, just because of I got too much experience for that. My experience is like just actually like on my resume right now. I say that I helped my last sock, grow to a maturity level of 3, which I know that's a big one. Every time I apply for like a sock lead role or something like that, I always get called back just because they're looking for like that leadership. But I used to love like doing the meetings where we had with the sim guy, and then we're doing the content, and we're just going over these rules. And like, oh, this fine a lot. This doesn't make sense. These guys are doing this alert wrong because they don't understand it, and we're missing logs for this to even be actionable. Like I just like doing that part, and as small as it seems, these small things tend to happen if they don't go. If anybody doesn't actually fix them, that's how breaches happen. That's how you get an actual incident. And then people are looking like, what happened? Well, I told you guys about 5 months ago that, hey, we are closing out this alert wrong. And I don't think my team understands it. And I don't think it's working right. And that's one of the things that happened to us. And it forced them to realize, oh, we don't have this in here. So how can we, key on, this malicious software being in here? But that's a story for. I think I did it already, like on a video before about what really happens in a breach. But no, it's just those things that people take for granted. But I think I always found it, interesting, like hearing y'all's like jargon, like working with these different logs. Like, oh yeah, I'm working with Kafka and all this other stuff when it came to like Splunk. So I thought that was pretty cool.
It is. It is. So I'm trying to get more experience again with content development, which hopefully I'll get some clients pretty soon, which I can do that.
When you say clients, are you saying like at work or outside?
At work.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about this a little bit. Like, how are you required to come into the office every week, or just whenever they want you to come in?
So the way it works, specifically for my team, um, is everyone's fully remote except when you have to travel for clients. Most of our clients aren't really requiring travel unless you're like a manager, a senior manager. Then you have to travel like once a month or like every 6 weeks, for example, or something like that. But for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, you can live anywhere in the country as long as you're like close to the airport.
Man, that's nice. I'm not gonna lie. Like in 2020 is when I actually was trying to move into consulting as well. Prior to 2020, like late 2019, I went to Splunk Conf because it was free through my company because they were partners and stuff. And our sim guy, our principal sim guy, introduced me to like the consulting people at the company, and I was going to potentially start doing some consulting because I want to travel for free and just go to these different environments and learn all I can. Because that's really one of the best ways to learn. It's like just being thrust in different environments and forced to come out with good results. That's how you learn. Learn through fire, try by fire.
Yeah,
And it's
that was one of the things about it too. I think normally before COVID, people would travel 75%, which would be hard if you had a family. So a lot of people do like this, where it's not as much at
yeah,
most like 5%.
it'd be
Um,
hard, but I mean, the family gotta understand. Hey, this how I bring the bacon home. I mean, it's nothing else. I mean, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So uh, that's cool, man. That they have you guys like that. I mean, really, most engineering jobs that I used to know of were remote anyway. I was like, what's the point? Like, why do they need to be in office? Like, for what? Everybody's around there. They forget. Everybody start getting sick and stuff when you come into office. Like the office I just was at, it was like it wasn't even set up like not cubicles, but like not even little separators on the end of your desk. So it's like you had some type of space. Like I was like, I was not feeling that open concept at all. I just wasn't. It wasn't me. It wasn't what I was used to. I was always used to at least having my own section, my own little space.
yeah, that's how I was at Publix too, which I felt so important. When I got my first cubicle. I really appreciate it.
Man, so let's talk a little bit about let's talk about a little bit about like your business thing. I guess that way you can I guess pitch it on here because I've had people and they hit me up. Oh, can you show me how to use this? I was like, no, I can't show you how to use these things because I don't have I have access to them, but no, it's a breach of contract. So yeah, a little bit, just kind of what inspired you to do it. Did you start just, I guess, on your journey where you like sharing with everybody like what you do, and people start asking you, hey, can you show me? Can you show me? Can you show me?
Yeah, okay. So that's actually a funny. That's a good story. So after my internship at Publix, right? This was summer of 2019. You know how in internships, if you don't apply the knowledge directly afterwards, you'll lose it. So so what I want to do is I wanted to keep that knowledge. So I partnered with BIC, which stands for Blacks in Cybersecurity. So they're a nonprofit that promotes people of color that look like us in cybersecurity, networking opportunities, conference opportunities, job opportunities, and learning opportunities. Just like creating a community where people feel welcome and belong. So I became a campus ambassador for them for USF. I run events. I did shows. I talked to people. I try to get people to join my location group. I did that for 7, 8 months. It was going great. And then March 2020 hits, COVID hits, everything shuts down. It was only within like a week. I said goodbye to my teachers one time. I'm like, I'll be back in a couple of weeks. I didn't see them for like a year and a half. I went back home. Um, so that happened. So everything went were mine. All the recruiting went completely online. So this is after I graduate May 2020. June rolls around. This is like a month before I started DTCC. And my CEO, Michaela, um, she's like, "Hey Kenneth, do you want to do a Splunk course?" I'm like, "Yeah, Michaela." I'm like, "Of course." I'm like, "Who's gonna lead it?" She's like, "You are." I'm like, "Oh." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "I can do this." So that's what kind of started my journey, like in professional training. So I developed the course curriculum, the use cases, the labs, the PDFs, the PowerPoints. I did all of that, and then I did a webinar. And I showed people how to use Splunk, what it is, security use cases, how to ingest data, how to install Splunk, like all the fundamentals of that. And I did that. Everyone loved it. And then people asked me again. So later that year, I did it again. Then following the year, I did it again, and people kept asking me to do it. I'm like, oh, I'm like, I can actually turn something serious. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I can't be a business owner. That's not for me. And then I did it. I did it like one last time. I think it was like previously last year. And I talked to Michaela. She's like, hey, Kev, you said you turn it into a business. I'm like, you think so? In the back of my mind, I'm like, but can I really? And then I had like a bunch of people keep on asking me, and you know what? And I said to myself, you know what, just try it, Ken, see what happens. And so that's why I wanted to create this business. It's called ECA, or Ellington Cyber Academy. So we're an e-learning platform, and we do e-learning training. So the way it's going to be structured is there's going to be normally 5 to 12 week programs. It's going to be 5 weeks now because we're starting out on a test of concept. And with that, you're going to get about 3 2-hour career and troubleshooting sessions. So there'll be a bunch of detailed labs and PDFs and walkthroughs. And then if you're still lost, like later in the week, you can sit down with me in the group setting, and we can walk through whatever issues you're having with it. And I'll walk through some of the homework problems that I assign you, so you get a fundamental understanding. Because I know you probably seen this too, Henry. But people that are like good engineers, but they're just good engineers. Like they can't go in front of a client, they can't explain something. If you ask them, "Hey, why'd you build that app?" I built it because someone told me to. I mean, it just works. Just look at it. Like they can't go into detail about why that's important. Like what is the return on investment? What is the business aspect of it? They can't explain that because a lot of times people don't understand cybersecurity. Um, we cost money. We normally don't make money for a firm. I do because I'm a consultant, right? People sell my services, and that's how the firm brings in money. But if you work at Target or Walmart, you don't. Cybersecurity costs the firm money. Now it's fine because like a fire department costs the city money, and no one's like, well, it's costing so much money. Why do you have a fire department and everything burns down, right?
Right.
So it's so important. Just people need to have that perspective. Like it costs a lot of money.
Right. And the crazy thing is funny that we were actually, me and my one of my coworkers, my old coworker now, was talking about that earlier, saying like how companies have to get in the mindset of actually making tech and security a little bit more of a priority, just based on the market, if they want to keep the good talent they have and throwing them, more incentives for staying and things like that. Because, yeah, we know, like in my instance, the investment bankers are the ones making you the money, but we also are the people that's making sure you can keep on making money by handling all the incidents and stuff that comes our way that you guys never see the light of day to. So it's like if we weren't here, it would be no more y'all because it's a different age. This ain't, when y'all was the king in the 1940s and 50s where these threats didn't, exist. So I definitely agree. It's a cost, but it's a necessary cost. Would you rather, pay that, 30 million in payroll, or would you rather pay, 500 million in losses and damages? The choice is theirs. That's how you really got to sell it to when you want to, execs and you want to keep it frank. They understand ones and zeros, just like computers. How much it's gonna cost. So if you tell them, hey, you spend 30 million on these people, or you run the risk of spending $500 million, they gonna go with the 30 million. Now, if they don't want to, they risk appetite, they gonna be that high, Something happen, it happens, because it don't only cost you money, your reputation. Some people never recover from a bad breach. Ever.
That's really true. Especially if you're like a mid-sized firm. If you get ransomware and then you don't want to pay it, and then it just looks bad. And if your revenue is only like $30 million, you're cut in half. Like you're out of business.
Yep. Definitely, man. With your services, do you got a price point for them yet, or what?
Yes. So for the beta price point, it's going to be about $1,000 or $997. And with that, again, you'll get 6 hours of time in a group setting with me. The classes will probably be around initially maybe 20 to 15 people. You'll get detailed videos. You'll get case studies that you can do. You'll get homework assignments. Because the biggest thing is that I want people to, beyond learning the tool, like have business savvy and understand like the bigger picture and understand those fundamentals. Because I see that's missing with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing is this is a lot more affordable than a lot of other providers. Because again, you can spend upwards of like $10,000 to get fully trained. And then even then, you may not understand the overall scope of what that tool or platform is doing. I'm trying to bridge that gap. So that's one of the biggest things I'm trying to get across to people. I also do coaching as well. That's a smaller service I'm trying to test out. So I'm trying to specialize in my niche, so SIM and SOAR detection. So if you do need help with that, guidance about how to build your career in that, I am your person. And the beta price for that for the first session is about $100. And then depending on how that goes, I'll scale it up and we'll go from there.
Yeah, man, definitely. I know. Like, I actually just apply. Hopefully, they approve me. I just apply for a firm to see if I can add that on my page. That way, I'm saying, hey, you ain't got to pay all at one time. Use this a firm right here. You can pay in whenever you want to pay. So they can pay me all. A firm can pay me at once, and then they can worry about paying the firm. So that's dope, man. I'll probably be reaching out to you about some. I've been having some ideas about um, doing a SOC course, right? For figuring out, building out the environment, uh, especially like, I don't know. I don't even know what the price would be. Like, I would just love for it to be Splunk just because it's one of those things that everybody pretty much uses now. So if you have it on your resume and you can speak to whatever project you did with it or whatever, it just looks good when people are interviewing for it. Uh, like, I know how to set up for free, but like far as the parts, like for example, I've used INE before. Cyber uses like old version of Splunk. So really, those two, INE had like their own instance of Splunk that you have to access to a VPN or whatever. But I don't know like what they're paying that for that for. Uh, I guess like a year or whatever. Like, because they're only, from what I did, they only had like the boss of the SOC data set in there. So it didn't like they had so much data in there. So I'm just wondering, like, if you got not like you're definitely ingesting a lot of data, it's only a set amount. Like, how expensive is that? or Splunk just let you run it and let people VPN to it or whatever. I don't know. Like, I mean, that's just one of the things that kind of interests me with that.
Yeah. So that's why initially I'm gonna tell them how to set up their own lab, which will get that hands-on experience too. But I think for like Splunk Cloud, I think for like the smallest one, which I think is like maybe I think like 50 gigabytes a day of ingest. I think it's like $8,000 a year.
Really?
Yeah. I don't
And
know.
that's a, no, go ahead.
I'm not sure how much the on-prem one is. I can double check though.
Right.
But it may be around the same.
Because they're really not the bad price. But if you're not even, ingesting, a gig a day, it's kind of like, it's one of them things. But you still can't beat it if you can get people in and they like actually come use the platform, and, because essentially Splunk did all the work for you. They make the data set, you get the rules and stuff on Splunk, and you add the add-ins. Like I forgot, I've got the password to my Ubuntu server, so I couldn't log back in to do like the boss of the SOC data set 3 because I'm going to make that like a project like on my site. Like people always want projects. Hey, what can I work on? What can I work on? So that's like actually like a solid project, like where it's like I actually like installed it, and then my Linux skills so rusty, but one of my other friends, one of my and I'm gonna probably link y'all two together. I pretty much kind of like coached him like over the last couple of years. We both he started work when he moved out here. He started working where I used to work at. I used to work in the NOC, and then from there he went to be some type of engineer for Experian, and then now he is a SIM engineer with OCC.
Gotcha. That's very cool.
And yeah, they are. I want to say one of their offices is in Irving too. So he goes to Irving like probably like once or twice a week or whatever. So I'm gonna have to link y'all two together because he helped me. He said, "Oh, this the command to start this," and like I don't know, this the what they gave me to install it like on either what's on GitHub or something. The instructions weren't that clear, but I mean I was able to make it do what it do. Coming from a person who don't have a background and like freaking doing all this stuff, it's very interesting, but it's just hard to. I think that's one of the things too why people aren't super successful trying to break into cybersecurity or whatever. They don't know how to find a lane. Like so much information, they're trying to learn this, they're trying to learn this, they're trying to learn this. I'm like, focus on one thing, learn it well, and then start learning other stuff. I don't care if it's from the simplest thing. You learn a framework for compliance. Slap, a cloud certain sec plus on it and say, hey, I know this very well. Hire me. And then you can go on your way.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people can get like information overload, and then they want to learn everything. The field is like super large, so they can kind of get like choice fatigue. And
Mm-hmm.
so I try to tell people pick a couple of things that you're interested in, then break those down and see if they match your personality, your type, and then try to go from there to see if you can do it.
Hey, that's it right there, the personality part. Like a lot of people want to be all these different type of roles without realizing, hey, this is a people facing role. You're an engineer person. Like, not saying engineers can be people facing, but they're very good at, like you said, because somebody told me to do it, doing it and getting it done. Most of them don't necessarily want to be the person presenting or talking to people. They just want to do their work and leave, which I totally get because that's how I want to be sometimes. I'd rather have these in and do my work. I don't really feel like talking to you sometimes at work because y'all be on some bull. For real, that's what my friend. I was saying about Marquise is like, man, I don't like going to the office because they come bothering me about stuff while I'm trying to do work, throwing comic books and stuff on my desk, and I'm trying to do work.
Comic books.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where his office is. I asked him, was it close to like the Toyota Music Factory and stuff like that. I used to. It's not a fun fact. I mean, if you go on my LinkedIn, but I went to do my master's at University of Dallas, so I got familiar like with that area. Like I used to leave for class early sometimes and go eat at like that Bar Louie over there, which I think that Weston isn't that Weston built over there now. Where the Toyota Music Factory is, don't they have a Weston built over there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was being built when I was like going to school, which December I made like 4 years I've been out. which makes me feel like an old head, but I ain't nothing but like 5 years older than you, so I ain't that old, so I don't feel too bad.
I've been doing it for a long time.
My favorite sound thing right there, man. But that's dope, man. I'm trying to see did we give the people what they needed to know. I'm trying to think did I miss anything out for them to know about possibly. I mean, we got your services. Let me hang on. Let me give us some outro music real quick. So we got your services and everything else you're gonna be doing. How can the viewers or the listeners, how can they reach you?
Either LinkedIn or my Twitter handle, things like K1031. I think we're connected on Twitter, right?
Yeah, you just added me not so long ago. Yeah, I'll make sure to have your Twitter handle on the video. Well, if you see how I do my things, everybody's Twitter handle is on the video or whatever. Are you on IG?
I am.
TikTok?
Not TikTok.
TikTok is one of the ones I've been sleeping on, but TikTok's it's a good one, especially for giving people a little bit of information and saying, like, check out my page if you want to learn how to do this and make money or whatever. But hey, I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. This has been another episode of Techtual Talk where we try to enlighten y'all. I ain't want to, we could have gotten to the weeds and asked a little bit more about all these different logs, but I think he gave y'all just enough to let y'all know he knows what he's talking about. So if you're interested in getting into, sim engineering, primarily we'll learn how to use Splunk. It's for a great price. We just told you Splunk is charged about more than 5 G's compared to what he's going to be charging. It's a no-brainer. Holla at my guy Kenneth. But I appreciate y'all, man. And like I always say, let's stay textual.